Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today we'll be going through a question in a past question. So let's just get started. So looking at the screen now, we can see we have question 1, which has about 5 sub questions or sub items. So for the first question, which is 1a, said we should evaluate the following numeric expressions given that a is equals to 2, b is equals to 3, c is equals to 5, and they are real values, and I is equals to 2 and j is equals to 3, which are integers. So, and they say we should evaluate all these expressions. So basically what we're going to do is open our Fortran file. As you can see, mine is open already. Yeah, so we're going to declare, or no, what's the name of our program? I'm going to call it numeric expressions. Yes, and I'm going to end program numeric expressions. So next thing we're going to do is to declare our values. Don't forget to comment your work. This is an exam. Sorry, this is an exam, and lecturers will be looking at the comments as well in allocating marks. So first thing is a is equals to, and we'll say real. You know, they are real numbers or real values. So a is equals to, I think that was 2 or so. And check a is equals to 2 here. B is equals to 3, and C is equals to 5. So for the next one, which is an integer, we know that I is equals to 2, J is also equals to 3. Confirm. Yes, confirm. So the next thing we're going to do is to write out our expressions. So I'm just going to write expressions here as the comment. The first one is a multiplied by b plus c. Then we'll print our answer. So for that, this I'm going to write it out. So results is equals to, I'm going to say a multiplied by b plus c. I'm going to print out the result. So for result, we have to define what result is as well. Find results. I'm going to call it a real number as well, a real value. Then we'll print out our results. Okay. So I'm going to write all the expressions. I'm going to fast forward that part so that you guys will not see me typing. It's going to take a while. So yeah, this is all the expressions from number 1 to number 10. So let me save that and run that. Let's see. Hope she gets. Okay, we can see that. Okay, from our first answer here, we can see that expression number 1 ran, which gave us 11, and you saw that after number 1 it did not run again. So obviously that means our problem is in expression number 2. So let's inspect what expression number 2 is doing. So I and j are 2 and 7 and 3 respectively. So we have expression of j divided by into bracket I divided by j. So what that is telling us is that we're going to do the brackets first before we move on to the ones outside. So that's 3 divided by 2, or no 2 divided by 3, which is 0.6, 0.66, I think 6667, and j divided by 0.66667, That's 3 divided by 0.6667. It's meant to give us something, a value, right? A real value. But the reason why it's not giving us a real value is because I and j are integers, and when you're dealing with integers, when you divide something like I and j, I divided by j, that's 2 divided by 3, it's going to give you 0.6. Because of the integer value that you have on it, that's the integer value of 2 of this integer value that I and j assume. Because they are integers, the answer of this bracket will just be 0. So for any integer that we're dividing, if we're dividing, let's say 1 divided by 2, which is going to give us 0.5, right? 1 divided by 2, which is going to give us 0.5. As an integer, the answer of that value will be 0. The answer of that expression or equation will be 0. So for coming back to where I was explaining before, 2 divided by 3 will give us 0.6, but because it is an integer, because it has an integer value, it's going to return 0 as the answer. So, and we know j divided by 0 or 3 divided by 0 is undefined, or is a math error. So to correct this, I'm going to make every value here a real number. You then see that it's going to give us the right value. Real. I'm going to make every value a real number. So I'm going to save this and run this again. Okay, we can see that we've gotten our answers from number 1 to 10, and we can see that number 2 that we had a problem with run. So that's good news. So next step is confirm the answers here. So number 1, the expression is a multiplied by b plus c. I'll do a is equal to 2, b is equal to 3, and c is equal to 5. So that's 2 times 3 plus 5, that's 6 plus 5. For the next one, I'm going to deal with the values in the brackets before we move to the ones outside, board mass and everything. So 2 divided by 3, that's 0.66667. Then 3 divided by 0.666, that's 4.5 something, 4.5. Yeah, that's why we have this value here. So 1 and 2 are correct. Moving on to the next one, we have b divided by c times a. B is 3, c is 5. Yeah, b is 3, c is 5, and a is 2. And we can see that from board mass, division is on top of, or is division is before multiplication. So we'll do 3 divided by 5, that's 0.6, times 2, that's 1.2. So number 3 is correct. Moving on to expression number 4. First is the one in the brackets, as we know. C, that's 5 times 2, that's 10, and 3 divided by 10, that's 0.3. So this one is correct as well. Okay, so for expression number 5, we have a divided by I divided by j. So I'm going to divide 2 divided by 2, that's 1, and 1 divided by 3, that's 0.3333. So this one is correct as well. Number 5 is correct as well. Then moving on to vi, expression vi. So I divided by j, that's 2 divided by 3. 2 divided by 3, that's 0.666. Like we said earlier, yeah, 0.666. So that's going to give us 0. Then 0 divided by 2, which is going to give us 0. I'm not touching this. I'm not changing this to real values, because it is not affecting our operation. Assuming it stopped there and said like a mathematical error or an arithmetic error, I will have changed these values to real values. but since it is not, since it is giving us an answer, I won't change that. Then moving on to the next one, a multiplied by b raised to power I divided by a, divided by a raised to power j times 2. So for this, the way we're going to solve this question is we're going to deal with this raised to power first, these two raised powers. Then we're going to start from the back, then proceed to the front. You understand what I'm trying to say? So b raised to power I, that's 3 raised to power 2, that's 9, right? B raised to power I, 3 raised to power 2, that's 9. A raised to power j, 2 raised to power 3, that's 8. So a times 9, that's 2 times 9, 2 times 9, that's 18. 18 divided by a raised to power j, that's 2 raised to power 3, that's 8. 18 divided by 8, that's 2.25 times 2, that's 4.5. That's where we have our answer here, 4.5. So VII is correct. Then moving on to the next one, we have, let me see, question VII. Okay. We have C plus into bracket B divided by A raised to power 3 divided by B times 2. So for this, I'm going to solve what is in brackets first before we move on. So B divided by A, that's 3 divided by 2, that's 1.5. Yes, 1.5 raised to power 3. 1.5 times 1.5, that's 3.375. 3.375. Then I'm going to divide it by B. Before we come to this plus C, I'm going to divide it by B. That's divided by 3. That's 1.125 times 2. I forget this times 2. 1.125 times 2. That's 2.25 plus C, which is 5. That's 7.25. That's why we have 7.25 here. So moving on to the next one, A raised to power B raised to power I. So we're going to solve this B raised to power I first. That's B is 3. Yes, B is 3 raised to power 2. That's 3 raised to power 2, that's 9. And 2 raised to power 9 is 512. Confirmed. Then we'll do the same thing for this number 10 as well. That's minus B raised to power A raised to power C. So I'm going to multiply this. I'm going to raise this A first. A 2 raised to power 5. 2 raised to power 5, I think that's 32. Then minus B raised to power 32. We can see that this answer is giving us a negative answer. If the power we're using to raise a negative number is an even number, we're going to get a positive answer. I'm not getting a positive answer here. The reason is because this minus B is not in a bracket. So if we put this in a bracket and run this again, we'll see that all issues will be solved and our answer will become a positive answer. So let me save this and run this. So I'm going to save this. No. Let's save this and run this. So we can see that number 10 answer is giving us a positive answer now. So that's all for question A. So I'm going to just copy this to this one. Then I'm going to comment it out. Question A. Let's close it up. So for question 1B, we're asked to translate these 5 statements, to these 5 sentences to Fortran statements. So we can see the first one is add 1 to value of I and store the value in I. Cube I, add j to this and store the value, the result in I. Set g equals to the large number of the 2 variables e and so on. So let's start with expression 1. So we're going to say, we're going to name this program Fortran Fortran statement. Fortran statement. So what we have to do is, I'll just go straight to the point. Then yeah, I. So I'll just comment this out. I'll say I. First question is add 1 to the value of I. Okay, so that'll be I plus 1 is equals to I. Question 2. So cube I, add j to this and store the result in I as well. So cube is raised to power 3. What's cube I? Don't forget to use your brackets. Raised to power 3. Add j. Then store the results in I. Then for question 3, set g equals to the larger of the two variables e and f. So this one we're going to use an inbuilt function in Fortran. So for that we're going to say g is equals to max of e and f. So what max does is to choose the larger number between e and f. And the last one, not the last one, number 4, if this is greater than 0, set x equals to minus b. So this one will have to bring in an if loop. So we'll say if loop so if d is greater than 0, then x is equals to minus b. X is equals to, put it in the bracket, minus b. Then end your if. And for the last one, divide the sum of a and b by the product of c and d and store the value, the result in x. I'm going to say x is equals to a plus b divided by c divided by d. So that's all for, so you can take a look at it. That's all for question 1b. So moving on to the next, 1c. I'm going to comment this out again. So 1c is, if C and F are Celsius and Fahrenheit temperature respectively, the formula for conversion of Celsius to Fahrenheit is F is equals to 9C divided by 5 plus 32. Write a program which will ask you for the Celsius temperature between Celsius temperature and display the equivalent Fahrenheit one. with some sort of comment like the Fahrenheit temperature is. Okay, so we're asked to develop an input and output and a system or a processing system that will process the Celsius temperature to a Fahrenheit temperature. So let's get started. I'm going to name this program, and you'll guess um, temperature converter. Then end the program. Temperature, say temperature converter. So first thing is we're going to declare our variables. Don't forget your comments. We're going to call them. Okay, so everything will be in real. As you know, you can't go wrong with real numbers. So I'm going to say C, F. What again do we need? I think that's all. Then ask for temperature. Say is okay. So what is the temperature in Celsius? Then that will read or sees Ninety divided by 5 plus 32. So for that, we're going to say F is equals to bracket 9 times C divided by 5 to bracket under bracket. We get to use a bracket because so that your calculations can be correct. Plus 32. Okay, let me say 9 times C divided by 5 times plus 32. So when we get that, we're going to say brings say F. Okay, let me run that and see if that works. Okay, let me cancel this first, then so you can see the screen will very well. Okay, what is the temperature in Celsius? I shall put a question mark there, but let's say 28.5. Okay, you can see that the Fahrenheit temperature is 3.3000031 degrees. So some people might ask that how can we change this long format to a probably, let's say, 2 decimal places. The way we can do that is by so I'm going to close this one out. Now I'm going to Instead of print, we're going to use the write function. That's write, comma, then we'll say write, say, then this will be our format box where we can put, okay, let me show you an example now. Since this is what we're going to be returning, I'm going to place this here. I'm going to place this here. So since we have a character first before our answer that we want to format, I'm going to let the formatter know that we have a character first, and to let the write function know that we're going to denote it with a. A represents character that is going to be a character before the number we want to format. Then moving on, our value that we want to format, which is a 3.3002, two decimal place, we're just going to write f 0.2. Then we're going to put this in a quotation mark. Okay, I'm going to save that and run that. Let's see whether it works. Okay, there's a mistake here. Legacy extension comma before. Okay, I was going to remove this comma. Save it again. Yeah, let's run that. Okay, what's the temperature in Celsius? I'm going to say 27.4. Okay, we can see that Fahrenheit temperature is 81.32. We can see that it has broken it down to 2 decimal places. If you want to move to 4 decimal places or 1 decimal place, we'll just say 0.1. I'm going to say for this temperature 32.1. Can see that Fahrenheit temperature is 89.8. So I'm going to keep it at 2. Let me save that. Yeah. Moving on to question 1D, you can see they said we should write the program in question 1C above to use a do loop to compute or write the Fahrenheit equivalent of Celsius temperature ranging from 20 degrees to 30 degrees in steps of 3 degrees. Okay, so I'm just going to comment out all this. I'm just going to comment down. I'm going to okay, let me just write program also temperature converter variables. So I'm just going to copy this. Then question is saying we should compute and write, use a do loop, temperature ranging from 20 degrees to 30 degrees. Okay, so I'm just going to write a do loop off right now. Do so our index is going to be C. Let me see, our index is C. But for C, I'm going to make C an integer because it's just 2021. I'm going to make C an integer. Then our start is 20, our end is 30. Then they ask for a step as well, steps of 3. If you watch my previous video on do loops, you'll see I explained this whole format. for I'm going to put 3 here, that's our step. So for this two loop, we have this is our index, this is our index, this is where we're starting from, 30 is where we're ending, and 3 is our step. So if you want to go in steps of 2, we can just change it to 2. The question said we should go in steps of 3. So moving on, I'll just copy this from here as well, changing to Fahrenheit V. Then yes, then we'll print. I'll write out the Fahrenheit temperature is this. So I'll put a caption here or a comment here and say do loop. Okay, let's see if that works. So I'm going to save that and run that. Let me clear the screen first. Okay, we have 4. And it goes to 23, 26, and 29. 23, 20. So why are we having 4? So let's see the Celsius temperature it is printing out. Okay, so since the Fahrenheit temperature for, so we say for, I want to call out the Celsius value, which is an integer. I would say for comma for C, and that is so A represents this character, or this character in this string. C is an integer. For that, I'll just put in an I5, which represents an integer. I5 comma, then we'll have another integer again before we have the number ones format. So let's save that and save it runs. Okay, so let me create space here. I'm going to cancel and come back to the top to make sure you guys see the results very well. So the Fahrenheit temperature for 20 is 68, for 23 is 73. Yeah. Initially, there's meant to be a space here as well. So let me just explain this again. The A represents characters. It represents characters like this string here. This string here as well. I5 represents the integer, which is C, and F is to format this value F here. So that's for I17 question 1D rather. So moving on to moving on to the last question in equation number 1, which is 1A. We have, suppose you have $50 per month in the bank account every month for a year. Every month after the deposit has been made, interest of rate of 1% is added to the balance. Write a program to compute and print the balance each month for a year. Write a program to compute and print the balance each month for a year. So we have a deposit of $50 per month in the bank account. Let's assume we're starting from January. Deposit $50 every month. Then after every month after the deposit has been made, interest of 1% is added to the balance. Interest of 1% is added to the balance. Write a program to compute and print the balance for each month. Okay, so we have some constant values, like example this the deposit, which is $50, and we also have rate, which is 1%, and we are going for just a year. So first thing we're going to do is, I'm sure anybody that is familiar with the videos on the channel will know that we've done something like this before. This is like a compound interest question. So I'm going to name it a compound deposit. I'm just going to say compound deposit. Then I'm going to end the program. Compound deposit. The next thing we're going to do is to move this up, is to declare our variables. I'm going to declare variables. Then the first deposit we have is $50. I'm going to mention or make all these real numbers or real values. So deposit of $50. So let's say real. Let's say deposit, it costs 50. Also have, okay, I'm just going to keep that there for now. Then what we're going to do is to create a for loop for each month. As you can see here, say every month after the deposit has been made, interest at the rate of 1% is added. So every month an interest of 1% is added. Interest of what is currently in the bank account at that point, interest of 1% is added. So we should write a for loop. Sorry, a do loop rather. A do loop. I'm saying for loop because for loop is from like Python and rest, which is more common. So index, I'm going to make our index I, and we can use any value here, any letter. So I'm going to declare that here. I'm say integer, because it's the one going to be counting. If you don't understand what I'm doing, just go back and watch the video I did on for loop. I think that was compound interest video as well. So I'm going to say on do loop rather. Sorry, do loop. So we're starting from month 1 and going to month 12. Yes. So the way we're going to do this is, I'm going to say, okay, initial amount is equal to 0. Initial amount is equal to 0. Then I need another value, which is balance. Say balance is in deposit and capital letter. Balance. So I'm going to say balance is equal to initial amount. So I'm going to, every month we know that a deposit of $50 is coming into the kidney. So balance is equal to balance, which you know as initial amount, which is 0 at the first month. So I'm adding the deposit into the bank now. So by the end, it will have $50 in the bank account. So the next thing we're going to do is balance is equals to balance, another balance, balance plus rate, which is 1%, and 1 divided by, okay, let me just put it right here, rate which is 1 divided by 1%, right? 1 divided by 100, which is 0.01. So say balance multiplied by rates. Okay, we'll also print the balance each month for a year. So for that, after we do this, we're going to print out print out balance after months I is so let's run that and see what we get. So I'm going to clear the screen here. Okay, so we have a problem here. Okay, so let's go through this again. Our balance is equal to initial amount, which is equal to 0. Then we add our balance plus deposit 50. Okay, I know where the problem is now. We said balance is equal to initial amount, and initially I'm going to make this balance 0. Okay, so instead of initial amount being 0, initial amount will be balance will be 0 rather. So for that, we're going to say initial amount is equal to balance. Equals to balance, and instead of this balance, we're going to say initial amount. So basically, what happened here is balance. So what was okay? Let me just go back. So I'll explain the mistake I did, or the mistake I made. Sorry, I want to type it again. I'll just copy this place. So let me go back and explain the mistake I made. Okay. Now you can see that I'm saying balance is equal to initial amount, and we know that balance doesn't have a value. Initial amount is 0, and yes, when balance is equal to 0 and it comes here, I add $50, it works first. So when it's coming back, when the first loop is done and it's coming back, it's going to write again. It's going to say balance is equal to initial amount, and inside this loop it has stored that the initial amount is equal to 0. So every time the balance is going to be resetting back to 0. I hope that is explanatory. If you don't understand, let me know in the comments. I would try to explain to you again. So this is the new block of code I've written. So what I'm doing here is initial amount is equal to balance. We know balance is equal to 0. Initial amount. So we're going to say initial amount balance, which is 0, is equal to initial amount is equal to balance, which is 0. So we have 0 here. Initial amount is 0 plus deposits, and we have our balance. Then when we come back here, we have a new value. When we get here, we have a new value for balance, which is going to bring this new value here. So when I've done one loop, the previous value of the balance that will go from loop 1 will be the value we'll be using as initial amount here. So some people might ask me that why is it not going back to this place to say balance is equal to 0 again? Because we're inside a do loop. And when we're inside a do loop, we cannot go. Once we enter the do loop, we have to finish that do loop before we attend to any other values outside the do loop. So let's run that and see if it works. Okay, you can see that balance after month one is so I'm going to, okay, we can see that after month 12 it is, the final answer is $640.466. Okay, I believe the that's all for question number one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.